Welcome to our recorded presentation on updates to the Preschool Learning Foundations presented by the Early Education Division at the California Department of Education. I am Sarah Neville Morgan, Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction in the Opportunities for All branch at CDE, and I'm so excited to introduce this new edition of our Preschool Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations. In California, this is the first time preschool and transitional kindergarten will be joined together in our early learning standards to create a more comprehensive view of the learning and development that can be nurtured for 3 to 5-year-old children in a high-quality environment, regardless of whether it be center-based, home-based, school-based, or TK setting. We know from the science of learning and development how critical each domain of children's learning is and the importance of fostering connections across domains to support the whole child. We also know the importance of intentionality with supporting children along a developmental continuum and creating learning experiences that foster joy and sense of belonging and affirmation. The updates to these foundations really keep these principles at the heart. And as we'll detail later in the presentation, we added an immense focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all of California's children are represented in these revisions. Before I pass it off to the rest of my team, I wanted to take a moment to thank some really important people who made this all possible. First, thanking my team. So Steve, Stephanie, Lily, and Olivia, thank you for your expertise, your passion, and for truly lifting this up every single day. To our State Board President, Linda Darling-Hammond, and our State Board of Education team members, thank you for supporting us as we went through this work. To our WestEd partners, our subject matter experts, our DEI reviewers, and the many, many California educators and interest holders who reviewed drafts and provided feedback. This work is truly a community effort and a labor of love to ensure educators have the most up-to-date research on child development, on the science of learning and development, and really see the children they serve in these pages. I'm now going to pass it off to Stephen Profiter, our Director of the Early Education Division, to provide some background on the current foundations and our charge to revise the document for preschool and transitional kindergarten. Steve, over to you.
So much, Sarah. In this presentation, we will review the preschool learning foundations and their structure, provide an overview of major revisions in the updated foundations, and present an estimated timeline and preview of related work. Next slide, please. So, what are the preschool learning foundations? Developed in 2008, the preschool learning foundations outline the key knowledge and skills that most children ages 3 to 5 years old can achieve when provided with the kinds of interactions, instruction, and environments that research has shown to promote early learning and development. The foundations can provide educators, parents, and the public with a clear understanding of the wide range of knowledge and skills that children typically attain when given the benefits of a high-quality preschool program, whether it be in a center-based, home-based, or transitional kindergarten setting. Volume 1 of the foundations covers social-emotional development, language and literacy, English language development and mathematics. Volume 2 covers visual and performing arts, physical development, and health. And Volume 3 covers history, social science, and science. Next slide, please. Presented here is an example of how the foundations are structured, which will not change in the revision. This is a strand within the domain of mathematics called number sense, and within number sense there are different substrands, one of which is presented here around reciting numbers with foundation statements and examples for children around 48 months or age 4 and children around 60 months or age 5. Next slide, please. In 2021, the CDE was provided one-time funding to update the foundations to incorporate recent research in child development, such as around dual language learners and children with disabilities. In 2022, in partnership with WestEd, the CDE began revisions. This work included 2 rounds of educator and interest holder focus groups, 3 or 4 subject matter experts per domain, DEI reviewers, and special DEI educator focus groups. I will now pass to Stephanie Myers, Education Administrator in the Early Education Division. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Steve. We will now walk through what has changed in the PTKLF publication. While a big emphasis on this revision was to update based on new research in child development, a number of key changes were incorporated as well. We will now walk through some of the major updates, which include a new title, PTKLF, a new domain, a new structure of language and literacy, new age labels, increased alignment to kindergarten standards, added teacher support sections, and an emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or as we refer to, DEI. Next slide, please. First is the new title, which is, as Sarah mentioned, the California Preschool Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations, as we will continue to refer to as PTKLF, with a subheading that states for 3 to 5.5-year-old children in center-based, home-based, and TK settings. The rationale for this title change is to make it more explicit that these foundations apply to children in both preschool and TK settings. Next slide, please. The structure of the language and literacy domain has also changed. So now it has subdomains of foundational language and literacy, which is inclusive of development of a child's home language, whether it be in English or a different language. And the second subdomain, English language development, which is explicit for children who have a different home language from English, who are developing a second language of English. Now I will pass to the consultant in the Early Education System Improvement Office, Olivia Damaris, and Lily Moffett in the Director's Office to talk through the remaining revisions. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Stephanie. There's also a new domain added called Approaches to Learning. This domain is currently part of the Desired Results Developmental Profile, or DRDP assessment, as well as the Head Start Early Outcomes Framework. So there is now increased alignment with those resources. Approaches to learning includes skills such as curiosity and interest, initiative, engagement, perseverance, working memory, inhibitory control, flexibility, problem solving, planning, and collaborating with others to achieve learning goals. Next slide, please. In the revised PTKLF, there are new age labels. As presented in an earlier slide, the original version included examples of child development at around 48 or 60 months. But we know that there is variability in when children demonstrate certain skills, and we wanted to be inclusive of this variability. So now we label these levels with an age range that is overlapping. The early foundation is for children aged 3 to 4.5, and the later foundation is for children aged 4 to 5.5. The idea here as well is for the later foundation to go to 5.5 to be more inclusive of the age range at the end of TK. Next slide, please. Another goal of this revision was to increase alignment with the kindergarten standards, especially with the inclusion of TK. We don't want the gap or jump, so to speak, between the later foundation within PTKLF and the kindergarten Common Core to be too big. On this slide is an example from the math domain in the skill of numeral recognition. The original version of these foundations had recognizing some written numerals as a skill. The new foundation has recognizing and naming all written numerals through 10. Our math subject matter experts said this is developmentally appropriate for children by the end of pre-K or TK, and makes it less of a jump to then be expected to know numbers 1 through 20 by the end of kindergarten, as detailed in Kindergarten Common Core. Another way in which this alignment plays out is structurally. The specific strand naming within each domain are now better aligned with kindergarten standards so that preschool, TK, and kindergarten teachers can more easily see the developmental progressions across grade levels, like presented here. Next slide, please. Because the preschool curriculum frameworks did not receive funding to be updated, we have added some teacher support sections within the domains of math, language and literacy, science, social emotional, and approaches to learning that demonstrate strategies for scaffolding skills within the foundation levels with concrete examples for teachers. Next slide, please. Lastly, and perhaps the biggest revision, is our intentional focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and ensuring these foundations actually represent the children, families, and educators in California. As part of this effort, we mentioned earlier recruiting several experts with this lens. Specifically, we had reviewers with an explicit lens on tribal communities, Black children and families, multilingual learners, and children with disabilities. The introduction for every domain discusses these lenses, and concrete examples are incorporated across all domains. And while you will see examples of many different cultures across these foundations, because of the historical racism and trauma of public education and learning standards for Black and tribal communities, we recruited specific focus groups of educators from these communities to provide feedback and suggestions to examples. I will now pass to Lily to talk through some of these specific revisions.
Thanks, Olivia. So for the lens of multilingual learners, one major change mentioned earlier is that foundational language and literacy development is now inclusive of the development of different languages, so not just English. And as an example, in the strand of recognizing and blending sounds, we have child examples of blending sounds in English, but we also have examples of blending words in Cantonese, as well as blending sounds in Vietnamese. And across this domain, we have examples in child speech, in fact, in Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Korean, Tagalog, Arabic, Farsi, Punjabi, Hmong, ASL, or American Sign Language, Russian, Ukrainian, Armenian, and even some indigenous languages like Karuk. And this focus on multilingual learners does not only happen in the language and literacy domain, but also across all domains. So, for example, we have, a child using American Sign Language to communicate their feelings, or a child using a mix of English and Spanish when counting in math. Next slide, please. And for the lens of inclusion, we also ensured there was representation across different disability types across the child examples. And we don't only reference specific disabilities, but we're also inclusive in our language more generally, such as not using the word says too much and instead using the word communicates or expresses, as we know not all young kids express through verbal speech. Next slide, please. And as mentioned earlier, many cultures are represented in these revisions, and culture has been incorporated in many ways, from references to culturally responsive books by diverse authors like Bippity Bop Barbershop, which describes the experience of a Black boy going to get his first haircut, to referencing food, language, family practices, materials, or holidays of specific cultures. And when appropriate, we have also included footnotes defining terminology used in different cultures and have ensured a member of that culture has reviewed examples to ensure they're authentic and not stereotyping. Next slide, please. So that concludes our summary of an overview of revisions for the PTKLF. And now we're going to shift to timeline. So the new document, the PTKLF, will be posted to the CDE, Preschool Learning Foundation's webpage in the summer of 2024. And please keep in mind this webpage is currently undergoing revisions to house the updated publication, and the CDE will be sure to inform the field when the updated webpage is live. And all PTKLF domains will be translated in Spanish and simplified in traditional Chinese a few months after the English release. The CDE will then release recorded, detailed webinars introducing each domain. Next slide, please. And just wanted to give you a little taste of some related work to the PTKLF. So we're in partnership with WestEd. The CDE is developing preschool to third grade learning progressions. And these will highlight the alignment between the PTKLF and the K-3 standards and frameworks in math, language and literacy, and science. And they will also provide some K-3 progressions in alignment to PTKLF in social emotional development and approaches to learning, which don't currently exist in the K-3 standard space. And this document will really demonstrate the learning progressions, the continuum from preschool to third grade, and provide some developmentally appropriate and playful teaching strategies. And the CDE will continue to provide updates on the P3 learning progressions through emails, newsletters, and webinars. So that concludes our webinar. And if you have questions, please email us at upk@cde.ca.gov. And I'm going to pass it back over to Sarah Neville Morgan to conclude our webinar.
So much, Lily, and thanks, Steve, Stephanie, and Olivia. So a big thank you once more to everyone who's made this possible and for all of you for turning in to learn about it. As you could hear from this presentation, we are really excited about our groundbreaking revisions to the PTKLF, including the newer information that's really grounded in the science of learning and development, and the even deeper, more intentional integration of diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout all of the sections, making sure that we are really representing California's children, families, and educators. So from this, we hope you embrace joyful learning along with us and move with us into the new PTKLF. Thanks so much.